Hello, my love, and welcome back to another episode of the Energy Expansion Podcast. As always, I'm so excited to be here with you. And I want to say, I don't think this is the first time I've ever started a podcast this way, but as I was preparing-ish, I have stacks of notebooks. One of the notebooks happens to also be my iPad. If you see me out in the wild at classes, at church, perhaps at the astrology workshop that I attended on Sunday, I will often bring my iPad and I have an app called Good Notes. And I like to take notes actually digitally, but I'm also a true like pen to paper kind of gal. So where I'm going with this feels like a Jesus take the wheel kind of an episode. We've had a few of those. And what I mean by that is there's not some like hard and fast script or outline or set of notes that I'm working off of. I have to be completely honest, I am not a fan of scripts. As someone who has invested a lot of time and energy and money in learning how to use speaking powerfully and strategically, I don't use scripts, and I highly recommend to all of my beautiful creators, teachers, leaders, healers, thought leaders out there, I highly recommend straying and staying far away from scripts. I do think that there's something to be said for having an outline, having bullet points, having notes to keep you on track. And that is normally what I have, but today, I wanted to unpack what's been coming through, what I've been learning, what's been revealed to me. And the best way to do that is literally in all of the places where I keep my most near and dear heart-centered thoughts. And so that's what I'm going to bring you into. I don't want to say this in a way where I'm like tooting my own horn. And also, what the heck is wrong with tooting your own horn? Nothing. Please do it. So let me toot my own horn for a second here. I am in the coaching industry. I'm a part of the coaching industry. I really strive to be one of the best parts of the coaching industry because just like with any other industry, there are things that are not done well. There are people who are shady, who don't actually want the best for you. And I want to be the example of a coach who cares, who's going to show up, who's going to go the long haul with you, who is going to surprise and delight you with how she's going to meet you and all of these things. And honestly, I strive to be the kind of coach that I desire. I give the kind of support that I hope to receive. And there's moments where I'm met in that, and there's also moments when I'm not. Not everyone can be a world-class coach like your girl, Dani. I say it that sort of in a silly way, but I really truly believe that at this point, well over a decade in the game, the amount of experience, the hundreds of people that I've had the opportunity to work with one-on-one, in groups, in person, online, guided experiences through retreats, and the well over 6 figures I've invested, I'm always wanting to be the absolute best for myself, for my family, and for the clients I serve, which is why actually our last podcast episode was me bringing you into some of my favorite ahas from revisiting content for a certification that I just dove into. I'm getting recertified, a second certification as a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming, emotional freedom technique, clinical hypnotherapy, so many other things. And I'm really, really excited about that. But I share all of this with you because as much as I'm a stand for how I serve and support others, I am always reinvesting in myself. I am always doing the work, if you will. Not from a place of I'm broken or I need fixing, because I actually know I'm not broken, that nothing needs to get fixed. I know that you're not broken. There's nothing about you that needs to be fixed, but I do know that there is a version of me and the life I'm creating that God intended for me. And I am so devoted and committed to continually meeting these new versions and layers and flavors of who it is that I get to be. Like that, there's literally nothing else on the planet that excites me more. I am doing the work day in and day out. Right now, I'm currently in a year-long coaching, like really high level. I was going to say a coaching membership. It's not even a coaching membership. It's really more of a mastermind specifically for moms. And the caliber of women inside of this community is really, truly astounding. And I love getting to meet with these women and being led through embodiment practices, and the various workshops and the things that I'm learning about are quite literally blowing my mind. And it makes me so happy and so excited. So I have a notebook that I have reserved specifically for that program. I also work one-to-one with a self-mastery and gene keys coach. Her name is Chrissy. I love her so much. I've been working with her on and off, more on than off, for several years. Funny enough, I met her through the master practitioner certification I did originally many years ago. Everybody who went through that certification was assigned a support coach, and she was my support coach, and I loved her and found so much value and synergy in our work together and what we were able to create in my personal and professional life, that when that program was over, I just sort of latched onto her and I've never really let go. So I work very closely. I meet with Chrissy every other week for self-mastery sessions. And then I also have a dear friend of mine, a former client of mine. She is a master in all things known as emotion code, belief code, body code, RRT, which is rapid results therapy, and a handful of other really powerful energetic stuff. So those are the three primary places where I'm currently invested, alongside the master practitioner certification, which just kicked off last week. I brought you into that in our episode last week. Oh my goodness, I'm a lifelong student in human design. I'm a 1-3 sacral manifesting generator. And so there's a lot of things about my chart, especially the 1-3 profile lines, that speak to my insatiable need and desire to learn and to know and to be the best. And when I say to be the best, it's not to be better than you or the person next to me. It's, as cliche as it sounds, it's very true, but to be the best possible version of myself. Aside from those three places where and let's call it four with the master prac, the four places that I'm really heavily invested in. When I say heavily invested, I mean money-wise, those are some of the biggest investments right now. Also time-wise, proximity-wise, the level of coaching and support. I am in these places and spaces for multiple hours a week, really looking at myself, and not from a place of vanity, but a place of acknowledgement, a place of love, a place of wanting to be really brutally honest with myself, noticing what the triggers are, addressing multiple layers of healing. Oh my gosh, it makes me so excited. It's so funny because one of the things I was going to talk about, and this is where it comes, when I said at the beginning, I was like, this is going to be a Jesus takes the wheel kind of an episode, because we're going to, what I like to call, we're going to bip and we're going to bop and we're going to boom and we're going to go here and we're going to go there. So my friend, buckle up, because you are in for a really fun ride. Grab your favorite beverage, grab a notebook. There might be something that really stands out to you. But I love the metaphor of a road trip. One thing you should know about me is a road trip is one of my absolute favorite ways to travel. So telling you to buckle up, because we're going for a ride and I'm in the driver's seat and you're going to get to be along for that ride and it's going to be so much fun, is one of my favorite things to tell you today. So one of the other things that felt important was I treated myself this past weekend, just a couple of days ago. I gifted myself the opportunity to go to an in-person astrology workshop. This felt like a really big deal for so many different reasons. First of all, my favorite astrologer ever, and I've had the opportunity to work closely with some astrologers and then also from afar, meaning like consuming people's content and really liking it, but not maybe having a relationship with that particular astrologer. There is a woman, her name is Haley Comet. How fun is that? My daughter's name is Haley, but I love that this astrologer's name is Haley Comet. And I would imagine that she didn't come out of the womb with that name. I keep meaning to ask her, like, Haley Comet, did you change your name for your business? I'm going to have to ask her. I'm going to send her this episode. Shout out to you, my love. But in the year-long program, the Mama Mastermind I'm in, there's so many amazing layers to this and what I get to plug into. But one of my favorite things included in that investment is a monthly personalized voice note astrology/energy update for the month. Haley will look at my chart. She will look at what is going on in the cosmos, and she will send me a personalized, basically like a mini podcast. These voice notes are like 10 to 15 minutes. I listen to them at least 3 to 4 times. I take notes on them. So I've been getting these personalized astrology reports for probably 4 or 5 months, and I'm obsessed. At the start of every new month, she sends them through an app called Voxer. I obsessively check my Voxer. I'm like, where's my report from Haley? And so I follow Haley on Instagram, and just less than a month ago, I realized, oh, homegirl, she lives in San Diego with me. I live in San Diego. So that got me super excited. And I'm a little master manifester. I really truly believe in the power of when I think, wouldn't it be nice to fill in the blank? Right? Go here, experience this, see this, run into this person, have this magical experience. And when your girl Dani thinks that thought of like, ooh, I'd really like whatever it is that I want or like or desire, or I wonder if we could create this thing. It happened so freaking fast. So when I found out that Haley lived in San Diego, I literally thought to myself, I would love to be at an event with her. I'd love to meet her. I'd love to hug her. And a couple of weeks went by. And a couple of weeks ended up being last week. I was on her Instagram and I saw there was a class that she was going to be hosting. I looked at the calendar. I looked at the schedule. I told my hubby, hey, I want to do this. He's like, you do that. You go do the thing you want to do. And I snagged my spot. And there I was on Sunday, which was so amazing. It was on Sunday, which happened to be the new moon and the partial solar eclipse. So I already knew it was going to be like a magical astrological day, but to get to be on that day, to get to be in that energy with my favorite astrologer, to get to hug her and meet her in real life felt like such a big deal. And the cherry on top is the fact that this event was in Coronado. Have you guys ever been to Coronado? Do you know the magic of Coronado? Coronado Island is here in San Diego. It's about a 25, without traffic, it's a 25-minute drive for me. And it is if I didn't already say it, it's one of my favorite places on the planet. There is something that happens in my body. So it's literally an island. So you have to take a bridge. You drive over the San Diego Bay or the harbor. I don't know technically what it's called, but like when I get to the halfway point of the bridge, now I'm really getting into Coronado, fam, the fibers in my being just soften and really relax, and I can breathe more deeply. I noticed this the first time I ever set foot on Coronado. And so I try to go there as often as I can, which really only ends up being a few handfuls of time each year. Here's what's crazy. I was there on Sunday and it was magical. It was exactly where I wanted to be in all of that really cool energy. But my daughter, my older daughter, who is at a new campus for middle school, it's the middle school, high school campus. She signed up for cross country and her first cross country meet is tomorrow. Can you guess where it's going to be? If you guessed Coronado, you are right. I am so flipping excited that I will get to make that magical little trek to my favorite place in the whole wide world 2 times in 1 week. Like, what? Okay, God, I'm here for the signs. Every time I go to Coronado, I come home and I tell my husband, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes. We are going to live there at some point. So that was a long roundabout way to tell you that all of these things I'm so excited about, all of these classes, these courses, these investments, the places I'm spending my time, I think I used this word before and there's no better word. It's insatiable. Like I can't get enough of it in the best possible way. And I know this about myself, but it was so funny because when Haley was giving everybody personal readings, and I actually had mine recorded little note to myself. I want to go back and re-listen to it. I was there in real life, but I want to capture it again. But there are certain things about my chart where she was like, you're literally here to experience every single version of who you are. There's something to do with my midhaven, my Chiron, all of these different pieces. And so it was really fun because when I described myself and my deepest desires, she's never heard me say these things, but she was using those exact words. And then she was also tying it into the fact that that's the work that I'm here to support others in doing as well. So it was just one of those really magical moments of feeling confirmation, a little like divine cosmic wink of, babe, you are on the right track. And with that said, there was something that Haley asked at the workshop that I've been sitting with quite a bit, and I want to bring you into this conversation. A lot of this was geared towards eclipse season. And at the time of this recording, this podcast episode is going to go out this week, so it's all going to be very fresh. But again, the new moon and partial solar eclipse, which were positioned in the zodiac sign of Virgo. This is a big deal because there were actually 2 new moons in Virgo, which is pretty rare to have a new moon in the same zodiac sign. I think it really only happens like once or twice a year, and every time it happens, it's a completely different zodiac sign. One other thing to note here with this, and I'm not an astrologer, I'm not pretending to be an astrologer, but I do find this information incredibly fascinating, and I'm mind blown at how things are feeling or the way that things are unfolding. And then I pair on wisdom from the stars, from the cosmos, and I'm like, whoa, this makes so much sense. Have you ever felt that way before? This was so foreign to me. I mean, a long, long time ago, probably 8 or 9 years ago, I went to my first ever moon circle to learn about the energy of the moon. And I was a little skeptical. And I think it was like a friend who had invited me, but we got a chart and we got a little resource guide pointing to what this means and what that phase is all about and what this is connected to. And very quickly, I was like, yeah, this tracks. This makes sense. So much so, depending on where you're tuning in, you may or may not see this, but I have a couple of pictures behind me on my office wall, and one of them is known as the feminine energy cycle. Check it out. It's very cool. It's the different phases of the moon, how those correlate to the natural phases, rhythms, and cycles of a woman's body, and then the natural phases, cycles, and seasons in nature, Mother Nature, and how all of those play into each other, how they're directly connected and really woven and fused together. It's so cool. It's so special. And as we're talking about all this, I also love the fact that yesterday was the fall equinox. And where I was going with that is I was actually really mind blown to hear that the last couple of days, what we've been experiencing with the new moon, the solar eclipse, and the equinox, there have not been 3 major energetic, seasonal, and astrological events like these 3 specific things have not aligned in this way in 19 years. Isn't that crazy? Each of these things individually are really powerful and really meaningful, but I truly believe that when we combine the energy of all of this, there's something to pay attention to around here. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my goodness, well, I didn't know and now it's over, my love, we are still very much in it. So the new moon and solar eclipse, which officially was like the end cap, it wrapped up this particular eclipse season we were in. There's something known as the eclipse shadow. And all that means, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is. It gets to be neutral. We don't have to label it or infuse any unnecessary meaning. But really, what it means is that this energy sort of lingers. And so we can access it. We can tap into it. We want to be mindful of it. We can feel it for a little while, even after the event is complete, if you will. So wanted to give you all of that context. I'm really hoping that you're finding this as fascinating as I find it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sharing it with you. And I just love the podcast because it really is this long form content where we get to, I feel like I'm sitting on my couch with you in the living room, or like you're literally here right next to me in my office, and we're having the kind of conversation that we would have as spiritual, heart-centered besties, geeking out over the most magical, mystical things of all time. If it's not magical and mystical, I don't want it, baby. And so coming back to this, there was a question that Haley asked us, very simple question, and it was, what has the eclipse season revealed to you, and what are you ready to release? Reveal and release. Reveal and release. I want you to be with that for a minute. I really loved that inquiry because it stirred up quite a bit. And if I'm being really honest, that inquiry is what inspired this podcast episode, because I really got to look at, wow, what is the deep work that I've been doing for the last 2-ish weeks? And if we want to get really technical, eclipse season officially started on September 7th. And it was a lunar eclipse that accompanied that full moon, and it ended on the 21st. But if you think about it, there was energy leading up to the 7th. And like we just talked about, this energy is going to linger a little bit longer. So it has to do with that 2-week period, but it could also look quite a bit bigger than that. And so I really want you to consider, what has the last 2 to 4 weeks revealed to you? And as a result, what are you ready to release? I'm going to bring you into some of the deep work, the contemplation, the inquiries that I've been in for myself. And one of the most natural places to go is back to, oh my goodness, there's so many different things, fam. I didn't realize this until the workshop on Sunday, that the Master Practitioner certification, that in all honesty was not on my radar. It was not part of my plan. But when it landed in my lap, my sacral, again, as a 1-3 sacral manifesting generator, I got so excited, and it was an immediate yes. Like, it didn't necessarily make sense, but I'm doing it. We're doing it. And so that actually started, I said yes to that months ago, but we actually started kind of smack dab in the middle of eclipse season. I did not realize that in that moment. And we were asked to choose a theme, a word, something that describe what we wanted to experience at the end of the certification. And what came through, this actually came through for me after our call was done. I was jotting down different words, and I wrote really big in my journal in all caps, embodied evolution, and was like, all right, love, real quick pause because I have to tell you about something that is truly life-changing. If you've been in my world for any amount of time, then there is a 99.9% chance that you have heard me talk about Energy Expansion Academy, which is my signature group coaching program where I teach the exact tools, rituals, mindset shifts that helped me create a life that goes beyond my wildest dreams and has transformed the lives of hundreds of women that I've had the honor of serving. And for the first time ever, it is now available as a self-paced experience. That means you get to move through this powerful transformation on your own terms, in your own timing, and in full alignment with your life. This is for the woman who's ready to shift her energy, elevate her mindset, and finally become the most confident, fulfilled, and successful version of herself. Without the hustle, without the overwhelm, and without the second guessing. If you've been feeling the nudge to join us inside of EEA, then this, my love, is your sign. You'll find the link in the show notes or just DM me EEA on Instagram and I'll personally send it your way. Now, let's get back to the episode that you came for. mic drop, period, point blank, full stop. Embodied evolution. Embodied evolution. Friends, mark my words right now. I am going to have a program in the next 6 months called Embodied Evolution, because that is the journey that I have very distinctly. I'm so grateful to have been able to pinpoint this, but this is the journey that I have personally been on. And I think ultimately we are all on, but I've been in this season of discomfort for longer than I want to admit, for longer than I like. And this isn't to say that life's not amazing, because it is. It is. I'm in a season of life where when people say like, hey, how are things going? I am so freaking genuinely excited to answer that question. Like, can I please tell you how great all the things are? Because 6 months, 12 months, 18 months ago, I didn't necessarily feel that way, but I do right now. And I'm so grateful. And I want to talk your ear off about how great things are. And also, there is a version of me. And if you've been in my world for any length of time, you are like, okay, Dani, we get it. We've heard you talk about it, but some of you haven't. So I'm going to say it. There's this version of me that I'll get glimmers of. She'll kind of pop out and then she retreats back. She goes back in. And so there's this full evolution, not this like in and out and dip my toe in and then jump out of the water and then wobble and sit on the fence. So is she here? No, she's there. She was here a minute ago and now I can't find her. Blah, 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 blah. Have you ever had an experience like that? This is very frustrating. I'm 38 years old and I've never experienced anything quite like this. I mean, I've had my fair share of not so great things happen. If I could turn back time, like Cher says, right? If I could turn back time, I wouldn't change a damn thing. But I've been through my fair share of things. But this extended level of discomfort, of fuzziness, of not really fully feeling connected to this next version that wants to come through, this feels really foreign. And I'm like crawling out of my skin. And I also see that it's not a bad thing. I see, because of all the work that I've done, all the work that I spoke about for 20 minutes straight at the beginning, like this is part of the process. This is a good thing, right? The deeper we go into ourselves is directly connected to the rate at which we get to rise, right? There's a correlation between the depths and the ascension that gets to happen there. So I'm like, if we're going to go, we are going to go really, really, really deep. And so the thing that I realized in the middle of eclipse season was the thing I'm craving is embodied evolution. And I keep saying to myself, there's like a little bit of this psychic ability where it's going to be somewhere between May and March of next year. Like that's what it is. And I love that because if you guys don't know, my birthday is April 5th. And so it may have something to do with my birthday. It might not be, but there is something on the horizon. And I'm not like anxiously twiddling my fingers together, like chomping at the bit, like hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. No. I'm excited for that. And I'm also committed to being fully present. And I'm committed to getting what it is that I need out of this season. And I really hope that me sharing this with you allows you to take a look at like, oh, snap, what do I want? Where am I right now? Maybe I'm in my own version of that. Yeah, I had a phone call with my best friend yesterday, and she was describing where she's at. And I just listened, like didn't interrupt. And I was like, when she was done, I was like, same, babe, same. And she was like, really? You? Like our situation seems so different. But I was like, in my own way, I'm experiencing, I called it like I'm in the fuzzy. I'm in the fuzzy. I don't necessarily see 10 steps ahead. And also I'm in a place, I'm in a season of life where the faith that I have in what's in store for me and for you is so unshakable in terms of how extraordinary it's going to be that I'm really not that worried about it. I don't want you to be that worried about it. I wanted to share those components with you and some other things that tie in So, embodied evolution is one of the things that was revealed to me. What else was revealed to me is there's this theme that we're working on inside of the Mama Mastermind that I was referring to. And every month there's a different theme. And this month was interesting. This month, the theme is self-control. And I want you to just notice what you think of, how you feel when you hear the word self-control. I am always excited to learn and explore and contemplate. But I personally didn't love the theme of self-control at first. It felt rigid. It felt like tight constriction. It felt like all the things that I typically rebel against. And that's not actually the point of this month. It's learning to relate to self-control in a completely different way. And really what I learned was I wrote down a couple things in my journal. I wrote that true embodied self-control means listening to God, right? Is letting God be in the driver's seat of my life, not me. Self-control is also not believing everything that my mind tells me. I really felt like that was helpful. These things came through in a bit of a meditative session, and I was noticing that I often believe the stories and the narratives that my ego's trying to feed me. And then the way that that leaves me feeling is not very good. I don't really like it very much. And so self-control is having the ability to take a step back, observe my thoughts, and remember, I am not my thoughts. I have thoughts, and not all of them are good. And not all of them are helpful. And so I don't have to believe every thought that I think. You don't have to believe every thought that you think. I thought that that was so great. Self-control is listening to God. Self-control is not believing everything my mind tells me, not necessarily needing to believe every thought that I think. Getting to choose what thoughts I'm going to focus on, because where I direct my focus is going to determine the kind of reality that I create. The other thing that was so interesting, I really had a breakthrough around this, was I realized if that is my definition of self-control, first of all, that is like a complete pendulum swing. That is a complete 180 from my original experience of self-control. But self-control really looks like leaning into trust and surrender a lot more. And when I was in this contemplation, I like literally reading things out of my journal to you right now. I had this visual of me being in the quote unquote fuzzy, right? Like me claiming the embodied evolution, but then also feeling like there's still a little more to do, to see, to feel, to experience to get there. And I'm going to trust the process as I go. What I was noticing was there's a part of me that wants to rush to the embodied evolution. Just like there's a part of you that probably wants to rush to get to your desired outcome. And I kept having, my eyes were closed, I was listening to a song, and I kept having this vision, this visual of me standing up to go do the thing that I know that I need to do that I think is going to get me the results. I'm really good at pulling the levers. I'm really good at getting the stuff done. I can force and push and make it happen, control, but I don't want to do that anymore. That worked for me for a long time, but I don't want that to be the way that I live anymore. So I had this vision of me like getting up to go and do the things, getting up to go grab the embodied evolution, and God literally placing his hands on my shoulders and lovingly and gently being like, sit down, my love. I've got you. Stop what you're doing. And so that has been so comforting. That actually came through last week, because what I realized was the only way I am going to receive the internal wisdom and information required to experience, to get, to have what I want, in this case, embodied evolution, I've got to go about it in a completely different way. This is not about pushing, chasing, forcing, making it happen. It's about, are you willing to be still enough? Can you find safety, Dani, in the stillness so that you can hear your own inner voice, which I truly believe is also connected to the voice and the heart of God and the Holy Spirit. I feel like some of ya are probably with me here on these things. Yeah. So those are some things that have been revealed to me. Do we like this? One other thing that was revealed that feels really stretchy. I had this image of, oh gosh, I want to tell you the whole story, but I also want to I have no idea how long we've been together. So I want to be mindful of time. Right now from my office, I'm looking out at our really beautiful backyard. And some of you know that there's been some highs and lows since I moved here. My family and I moved here just over 2 years ago. And that came with a whole flood of internal, emotional, energetic, spiritual experiences. A lot of that felt like pain, suffering, this turmoil. That sounds dramatic, but it also sounds wildly accurate. If you have not had a chance to go back and listen to our podcast episode called Healing the Land, I want to invite you to go give that a listen, and it's going to give you a lot more context to what I'm speaking about there. The really cool thing is when I received information about the land and the energetic impact it was having on me, that was in eclipse season in the spring of last year. Talk about these sort of book endings. We started at the spring of last year with this very overwhelming, very intense experience of me realizing quite abruptly, aggressively, in ways that I was resisting my connection to this land. And in this eclipse season just last week, I was given this visual. This sounds crazy, but it's not. I don't know why it feels like it's so crazy, but I had a vision of me being baptized in our pool, like in our backyard. Fun fact, I was baptized as a little baby. I was a couple months old. I was baptized into the Catholic Church. So Catholicism and there's a lot of similar teachings, but there's also certain things that are like very vastly different and very distinct. And I love that I was baptized into the Catholic Church. I get that that was my parents' choice, but for years and years and years, I've had this deep desire in my heart as a grown woman, as an adult, to make that choice. And this is not for everybody. If you're listening, I'm not saying you have to get baptized. This is just a desire on my heart. And so much so that when I see other people get baptized, I become an emotional mess, like in the best possible way. Like I will sob if I see other people be baptized. Just like what happens in my body is insane. And I always say, like I teach this in my courses, your body is going to respond in different ways when it wants to get your attention. And so for years, and I've never uttered this out loud, I've never told anybody this, like my mom, who I tell everything, my husband, who I tell almost everything. I just don't tell him everything because he doesn't want to hear everything. He has a much shorter desire and attention span to listen to me spout off whatever it is. Oh, there's a funny story that's coming through there with me and my husband. And so I had this vision last week of myself and some friends and loved ones being baptized at our house. And I was driving, so it was a little dangerous, but immediately when I saw this vision, it was so vivid and it was so clear. I started crying uncontrollably, and I got home and I was shaking, and I knew who I was supposed to reach out to. Like I knew the people I was supposed to text. To this moment, I've only sent 3 text messages, and there are 5 of us currently lined up to be baptized. And I walked up to our pastor on Sunday, right before the astrology workshop. I gave my pastor a hug, officially introduced myself. We've never had like one-to-one dialogue. And I shared my vision with him, and he was like, let's do it. Like it's happening. So I wanted to share that with you because this whole thing was around like what's being revealed. So that was actually revealed to me technically 4 eclipse seasons ago. Last spring was the revelation around the land and how the land needs healing. and the land is craving light. And the land that we live on I want to say it was carrying sadness, heaviness, darkness, pain, grief, and it was wanting something else. And I literally can't imagine anything more healing for my spirit and the spirit of the land than to have people come here and essentially be made anew, be given a new life that they choose for themselves. Like, what? What? If you listen to the Healing the Land podcast and then you come back and you re-listen to this part of the podcast, I hope that your mind is as blown as mine. I had a medium tell me that the land called me here to heal it. The land needed my light. And also, I wasn't meant to do this alone. I wasn't meant to heal the land alone. And I didn't know what that meant until last week when God gave me the image of people coming here to get access to a new life, to be reborn, to be made anew. How amazing. The pastor was like, oh, well, we could do it at your house or we could do it at the church. Like, have all your people come here. And I was like, it has to be at my house, sir. Like, I'll tell you later, but it has to be at my house. And he was like, no, that's great. That works for me. So all the things being revealed, what am I releasing? So again, some of the work that I've been doing with Chrissy around these coping styles and source code, there's something known as, I'm probably going to mess them up. I don't know the proper terminology, but I realized that there's a coping style known as constrictive. There's a coping style known as squashed, where we make ourselves small. And then within each of these coping styles, there's like sub coping styles. And one of them is hierarchy. A hierarchy? How do you say that? I can't say that right now. A hierarchy, meaning where people and places and roles fit. And I thought that everyone moved through the world trying to figure out where they fit in whatever made up hierarchy lives in their minds. Do you do that? I hope you don't, because I just realized not everyone does that. Some people do, and I am one of those people. So what I do is I will, without any conscious effort whatsoever, it's so deeply ingrained that when I'm in community, when I'm at home, when I'm in person, when I'm online, anytime there's other people involved, my mind is doing math, and Chrissy calls it mixed math, aka math that doesn't actually make sense. And I'm trying to figure out where you go and then where I go. And a lot of this has to do with belonging. Where's my place? Where do I belong? And I don't feel safe unless I know where that is. And can you see how that would hold someone back? Where they determine, oh, this is where I fit. And then all of these other people are above me or next to me or below me, wherever that is. And everyone needs to stay in their places. There's no growth. There's no expansion there. And so being mindful of this subconscious hierarchical way of thinking and being, yeah, I need to let go of that. I am done. I am done with that. When she had pinpointed this in me, I was like, oh, that's like how you do life, right? And she's like, no, that's how you do life. And it's not working for you anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that's something that I'm ready to release. Something else that I'm ready to release is I realized this need, this constant need for permission. And I feel like I've done so much work at chipping away at a lot of these things that I'm working on and that I'm ready to release. And healing happens in layers. And so this eclipse season revealed these particular layers that I'm ready to release and let go of. So I'm releasing and letting go of the need for permission or validation. For me to say something and then look to you like, is it okay that I said that? Is that all right? Are we good? I have to let go of that. I have to let go of that. Yeah. And one of the other things that I wrote down was, that example that I gave around embodied evolution and me wanting to get up and run towards it and grab it and make the things happen. And God saying, sit down. The reason that I struggle finding safety in the stillness is because so much of my identity and my worth has been wrapped up in how much I can do. And there is a sense of worthlessness that I have attached to my own ability to be still, not yours or anyone else's. And so really letting go of anything that's getting in the way of what I am being divinely called to do right now, any stories, any beliefs, any narratives that would have me feel bad, wrong, shameful, guilty for doing what I know I'm meant to do, or for doing things differently, for not following the rules of what freaking rules, right? Like, what are we doing? Why do we feel the need to do things like everybody else sometimes? I really hope that you don't feel that, but I so deeply feel that. And I notice ways where I am a strong stand for like, that's cool for that person or for that group of people, but that ain't for me. There's been a huge shift in my ability to get excited about wanting to do things different. And also, the past few weeks have really illuminated all of the ways that I'm still so wrapped up in societal and cultural programming. And so breaking free from all of that feels so, so, so important and something I'm so ready for and so excited for. With that said, this feels like a really great place to wrap up. I loved being here with you. I hope you loved being here with me. And I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so grateful for today. Again, at the beginning, I had mentioned that today was going to be a Jesus takes the wheel kind of an episode. We didn't really have any notes. I had a couple of words jotted down and I had all these different notebooks and such. And one thing that I've been practicing is just really being an open channel for what wants to come through and challenging myself to not need to know exactly how I'm going to finish that sentence or what's going to come next. And it has been just that. It's been a challenge, but it's been really fun. And the thing that I've been focused on more than anything is just telling the truth. What's true right now? What's my truth? What feels like the truth that wants to come through? So that's what today was. I'm so glad that you were here, and we will see you on our next episode. I love you all so much. As always, it is my favorite thing in the whole wide world to hear from you after you listen to our podcast. So feel free to message me, tag me, all the things on all the social medias. And if there's anybody who you can think of who could use a message like the one that we shared here together today, please feel free to send this their way. And if you have not had a chance to rate and review the podcast, it would mean the literal world if you had just 60 seconds to do that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you so much, and we'll see you next time.